1, 2, can you hear me? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. episode of Web3 Weekly Alpha. This is our second episode, hopefully of many, as we continue this show in the metaverse, in particular X Copies Bar. So if you want to come hang out with us, have a drink, virtual drink, come through. I'm kidding, this is just a backdrop. But we're excited to jump into all the crazy shit that is happening in Web3. As we know, there is never a dull week in this space, but together we can get caught up. I am your host, Serpunk, and let's jump into what happened in the crazy world of Web3. All right, so we always like to start with the market analysis, what's going on with cryptos and NFTs, just kind of a general sense of the medium-term trend. All right, so this is a daily chart of Bitcoin, and I mean, it's really came off the bottom pretty hard, and as long as we stay above these levels here, there's a potential for a breakout, and below them is where short-term I start to get a little bit more concerned on just the short-term side. But so just watching these levels, nothing too crazy here. Same thing with Ethereum, where if we stay above these levels here, there's room for more upside. Back below it, there's room for more, most likely sideways action for a little bit. So just keep an eye here, nothing too crazy as well. All right, so let's jump into some NFT charts. Some crazy action in checks, Jack Butcher's crazy NFT experiment. And you can see that it came down substantially after that huge move to 2.5. So on this big red candle was the day of the burn, which was on Sunday, Super Bowl Sunday. So it was anticipated and obvious in hindsight, of course, that this was going to sell off into that news. And it did. Went from a little bit above 1.5 ETH all the way below 1 ETH into the burn after that burn. And people have bought it back up. The last 3 days, it's just kind of moved all the way back to 2 ETH. And I didn't really expect that as such a quick response to that dip. But people are liking the checks. Jack Butcher continues to do interesting things, update the metadata, and explain his thought process for what checks could be really in real time, and people are really appreciating that. So shout out to checks, but we always know that this sell the news, buy the rumor, sell the news event usually happens. The name of the game NFTs is anticipation, but this project looks to be doing okay after this bounce, price-wise. MFers do what they want. Satoshi came back to Twitter. They attempted a breakout today on volume, and it looks to be stuffing as of right now, but we still have a full day, so let's see how the close ends. On one force. So this had a major breakout. I didn't even see it. I need to start setting alerts on this. I know there's an app called Floor where I hear you can do that. So this was a great setup above this 1 ETH, and it went straight to 2. So an easy double there. You like to see breakouts happening in the market. You have Azuki here, which has been one of the most strong floors, but strong communities as well. And it came out of this big base here over that started all the way back in June of last year. We're sideways actioning here. And it's forming a pivot right in this 15 ETH area. So if we can get through here, I'm interested to see if we can get some buyers to really jump in. Beans, which is the cheaper, seems to be sidekick in the story and as an NFT to the main Azuki characters. In the Azuki ecosystem, also looks to be bouncing pretty hard off the support area and kind of going sideways and holding that push so far. So that's kind of bullish here, and just interested to see. And it's also an opportunity if you wanted to get into the Azuki ecosystem to get a cheaper NFT and still go along for the Azuki ride. Bored Ape Yacht Club, which is the leader, of course. Always like to see it doing well to give a good gauge of the market. So this came out of that 70 area, came back and bounced pretty hard. It's not showing much action here, so just waiting to see if it wants to come back to this 80 ETH area and retest that resistance, and eventually, hopefully, we can get through that. Pudgy Penguins. Everybody loves the Pudge. This has just been going sideways after a massive breakout. The community just keeps on working, and the founders continue to deliver. So it seems they have a lot in the works, and this 6 ETH mark seems to be the area that keeps rejecting, and that's kind of what we want to get through. Wrecked guy, perfect in this market, as we've all become a wrecked guy, but wrecked guy is no longer being wrecked price wise, and it's getting sideways action here, and really showed strength during the bear market relative to other projects, and now over that 1.4 area is really where we want to get through to get some more traction going. Doodles was down over 20% this week, and the news was that Pranksy, which is a huge whale in the space, but also was a whale in Doodles. And what had happened is that Pranksy dumped about 20 Doodles, and it looks like it might have been the bottom, at least for now. I'm kind of just busting Pranksy's balls, but this could very well be not the bottom. But we immediately reversed after those sales and the FUD, and back above this 6 ETH support that's been an important level over the past. So Campai Pandas has been in a uptrend for months, breakout on breakout on breakout, until now it looks like we're slowing down, losing a little bit of steam here, where this breakout turned into a failed breakout, and now we broke this trend line and back below that 2 ETH mark. So we could be losing some steam here, pulling back a little bit, going sideways, not sure, but something to keep an eye on. Kid Called Beast was a big runner, and we talked about it on the last show. It looks like it did run out of steam short term over that 2.5 mark, and pull back like that is normal after such a big move. And let's see if we get some sideways action and kind of where it takes it. All right, so this week was the week of the airdrop with Blur. We know that Blur's airdrop came out, and up until now, I think it peaked at over $360 million into the ecosystem, to the community. And you can see that. Shout out to NFT Statistics, where he highlights that, and that degens are going to degen when they get free money. What I love about NFT degens is they put it right back into the ecosystem. So you can see here that he illustrates you had the most volume in ETH since the other deed mint way back in May. So we love to see that. And that's a lot of money. So we had an expectation that some of that airdrop money could have gone back into the ecosystem, and it's good to see that it actually did. So a lot of floors are still beat, but that's besides the point. And really great data point here by NFT Statistics. If you don't follow him, you should. If you don't watch his daily proof podcast or videos on YouTube, you really should. His data and statistics are unmatched in the space. But he ran the numbers because everybody's argued, if ETH goes up, is that bullish for NFTs? If ETH goes down, is that bullish for NFTs? Nobody had an answer. I always thought it was the range of the move, just because I've seen NFTs go up as ETH held sideways more than when ETH went up and when ETH went down. So I'm glad he came out and kind of gave us all the true answer back to some data, that the lesser the volatility in Ethereum, the better for NFTs in general. So any huge moves to the upside is not ideal. Any huge moves to the downside is not ideal. We want to see ETH kind of contract in its price range and just hold up and go sideways. That's when NFTs benefit the most. So thank you for that data point, NFT Statistics. Keep that in mind as you're trading your JPEGs. Again, NFT Statistics always coming out with the news and the numbers on it. So this is a very interesting thing happening right now in the market. People are currently being paid 6 to 7% interest to take loans out against their NFTs on a platform called BendDAO. And you can see that some of the blue chips are at all-time highs in terms of loans. You can see Bored Ape Yacht Club and Mutant Apes are just skyrocketing in loans, Zuki skyrocketing in loans. And you might say, well, why is this happening? Well, the main reason this is happening is because you're getting paid to take loans out. And yes, you have to pay interest, but currently BendDAO has a token, And because of its rise in its token, you're making more from the token because they pay you to take loans out. You're making more from the bend down token than you are actually paying in interest. So you can see here that somebody took out a loan on an Azuki. It was a 26% APR, but they're making 32% in the bend down token. So people are literally just taking loans out just to be able to milk the APR and the interest. And can you really blame them? So, and again, that is because of the around 8x in this bend down token that is allowing this arbitrage opportunity. If a bend down token comes back down, this will not be the case, and the loans will probably slow down. But as you can watch an NFT statistics video, the floor for many of these loans to liquidate is way below where it's at now, I believe in the early 60s. So nothing to be too worried about just yet, but definitely something interesting. And what's most interesting is that the Blur airdrop token is raising volumes in the NFT space, people taking loans out to arbitrage this interest opportunity, and probably also putting that money back into some NFTs, mainly probably airdrop farming Blur again, as it's still in season 2. But the question is how much organic volume is coming into the space. I know the Blur airdrop is organic volume to some degree, but besides that, it seems to be a lot of loans just going back into the market, a lot of people farming Blur airdrop. How many new people? There's the new unique traders data point is not increasing along with the volume. So my question is, how much of this is organic? How much of this is just people airdrop farming? And how is that going to impact floors in the medium term? And I know in the short term we can see some rises, but I want to see some more people coming in and supporting these volume floors. Shout out to King Blackboard, where he makes a really good point, especially in the face of what happened this week, which is a huge deal. You have officially the NFT marketplace wars between OpenSea and Blur, where Blur has essentially taken market share during this airdrop farming, at least, season, and OpenSea has taken their marketplace fees to 0. So there's now the whole royalty argument and discussion has come back up in the space, as has been talked about a million times, but of course it's an important part. So here's a chart of some of the top projects in the space and how much money they have made in royalties from simply people flipping the JPEGs, right? So there's been a lot of people and NFT creators complaining about the lack of royalties now. And some for good reason, and some it's kind of questionable, right? Like $49 million for other deeds on royalties as of January 2023. Azuki, Bored Ape, Clonex, Beans, Goblin Town. Some of these, most of these projects have not arguably brought that much value back to the holders, but in relation to how much they've brought in terms of royalty revenue is just absolutely insane. Millions of dollars. Holders are wondering, where did that money go, and why isn't more of that being given back to the community or building things that the community can value. So it really is a good, it gives you good perspective on how much money people have made and the whole discussion around royalties. So Blur bidding has skyrocketed because, yes, everybody got that huge airdrop from season 1, but immediately season 2 has started. And Blur's been smart because they've spread out their airdrop sort of through chapters, right, through seasons, instead of giving the airdrop all at once, which to me doesn't really make as much sense. So I think they're doing a good job with that. But of course, that is making more people farm in season 2, which is going to continue to bring that liquidity and those tight spreads in the NFT market. As you can see here, a huge one for the Blur community, which has been distributed $360 million via Blur token, which has been taken off recently. All right, so this is potentially pretty bullish news for the crypto markets. We know that China banned crypto a couple years ago. And now there's rumors going around that Hong Kong is looking to re-legalize crypto. And this could cause a huge influx of big money from the East to start to enter crypto. Asian currency-based stablecoin coming out. Hong Kong will be a currency as well. So we know there's a ton of people in Asia. Asian people are tech savvy. And if they legalize crypto, that can definitely be a huge part of the next bull market in crypto. As you can see, Andrew Kang, shout out to him, where he says the Asians will be max bidding. And this is supposed to take place June 1st this year. If this is true, this would be amazing. Ton of volume back into the space. And big news that places like Hong Kong are looking to legalize crypto. Hopefully we start to see that in other countries. Large sales, there's been a ton. We'll go over a few. Shout out to Eric, where he buys this pudgy penguin for 28 ETH. One of the reasons was there's only a handful of pudgies that are going to be licensed for the plushy toy line that they're going to be dropping. And that's why there was a premium on this. Shout out to Claire Silver, who's been absolutely on fire the last couple of weeks. She's one of the top AI artists in the world, and she's also one of the first artists to drop on Brain Drops, which is an art NFT platform, an AI, generative AI art NFT platform that's sort of like the art blocks of AI art, where different AI artists are curated and they do drops. And I really do feel like Brain Drops is going to be a big platform, sort of like our blocks, because AI is just the beginning, and I think it's going to really explode. But she sold this piece, $87,000. The unique thing about this piece is that it was not edited whatsoever from what it said here in this article. It simply was a regular prompted AI art, which is mind-blowing, and some people it's probably going to have their head spinning, but AIR is changing the game. And of course, shout out to NFT Statistics, where he shows the chart of sales for Claire Silver's Genesis piece, and it's just going absolutely parabolic, because it also gives you access to the Brain Drops ecosystem for future drops, but then also Claire Silver's AIR is just, again, in huge demand right now. Sewer passes. The metadata has been updated. The highest sale has come across 20 ETH for a 97th rank. So we know that Yuga Labs' Dookie Dash video game was this skill-based gaming mint. They finally came out and updated the metadata for who had the top scores. And some of these top scores are going for way above floor. The floor, I think, is still around 2 ETH. And you can see this sold for 20 ETH, and it was a 97th top rank score. So shout out to everybody who's selling these, and such a great drop from you, as always. This is some more data on the sewer pass here from Adam. Shout out to Adam, where he says, and this was sort of right when they updated the metadata. The 241 rank was going for 12.7 ETH, 194 for 12, 191 for 12 as well. So the floor, I'm sure, is still trying to get price discovery. But again, nobody knows what's going to happen to these sewer passes once you're able to get the next drop next month. Ordinal Punks, we're going to talk about them as they continue to have some really large sales. What's crazy is, shout out to Trouble for this info, a Fidenza was traded for an Ordinal Punk. A Fidenza is supposed to be a grail here in the generative art ecosystem, in the art blocks ecosystem, and Ordinal Punk is one of the early Bitcoin NFTs. So kind of insane to see this trade happen, and we're going to see if this is going to end up being a good trade or not. Mooncat, shout out to him. He's the #1 holder of Rec Guys, which we showed the chart earlier, and he highlights that somebody just swept the floor with 88 Wrecked Guys right here for over 100 ETH. He also highlights again that somebody else swept the floor for 42 ETH in the same week for 50 ETH. 42 Wrecked Guys for 50 ETH here. So some sweeping action happening, and the chart seems to be reflecting that. And let's see if we can get that breakout in the Wrecked Guy ecosystem. Shout out to Sam Spratt, where he sold his incredible piece, Infinite Ceremony, for 154 ETH. Shout out to Windmere Club Cap for the buy. It's such an amazing piece. When you zoom in, you really can appreciate the details, and it's just an incredible drop. So love to see it. man, this had me cracking up. I can't lie. Ryan Carson just seems to continuously make bad decisions since he entered the Web3 ecosystem, ever since he started from Moonbirds up until the most recent controversy of him with the whole investor situation for his new incubator that he was creating, which a bunch of them pulled out due to that situation. But he announced on Twitter, "Good morning, y'all. My fund, 121 Fund, I believe is the name, it just acquired 15 Grail Bitcoin punks for 183 ETH. I'll be posting a long thread tomorrow to explain why I'm bullish on Bitcoin NFTs and how I completed the complex acquisition process." Cyrus, who's one of the top traders in the NFT ecosystem, says the founding team of Bitcoin punks has been aggressively trying to sell 800 plus punks they minted for 20 to 30% below floor. Some of his friends minted hundreds of them, are competing with him for sales. Congrats on the team for securing a nice chunk of exit liquidity. So some people are saying that these Bitcoin punks were just created from some random community, just trying to raise a bunch of money. And seems like Ryan, if that is true, Ryan Carson just blew a bunch of his LP's money into this Bitcoin punks project. You don't love to see it. We'll see if this ends up being true. I don't have the full-on details, but again, it's not a good look for Ryan Carson so far, and he seems to be one of the worst traders out there. But he's got this huge fund. It don't add up. So we also had two one-of-one drops from XCopy. That is something we haven't seen in a very long time. Shout out to XCopy, who's one of the top crypto artists in the space. He sold one for 234 ETH and another one for 250 ETH. This was FOMO, the one that sold for 234, the next one for 250 ETH. Shout out to him. He really just created the look for crypto art and glitch art. And I'm a huge fan of his work, and I think that, and of course, I'm a huge fan, and we're doing this show with the backdrop of the bar in XCopy's metaverse. So shout out to XCopy. Congrats on that. NFT Statistics points out here that beautiful NFTs and dinglings have collectively now 14% ownership of the ordinal punk supply. So you can see here that beautiful NFT says that he bought some more, and some large collectors continue to have some conviction in these ordinal punks. Again, I don't know how this is going to play out. We've seen people pay high prices for punks on new chains in the past, and it hasn't ended well. Maybe this time because it's Bitcoin it does, but I wouldn't bet on that. But some people are, so it's good to see and just see how this all plays out. Tom Sachs, the legendary artist who also runs the Rocket Factory NFT project, tweeted and said, "I wanted a noun Zao noun, so I made my own. If you want to trade my in real life nouns that he drew here for one of your digital NFT nouns, DM me." And he created his own little art piece here of a noun. And you know what? Somebody took him up on that offer. Grimplin, who's a legendary artist in the space and also one of the co-founders of Nouns, traded this actual taco noun, noun 150, for his hand-drawn art, which is a pretty interesting trade. I've never seen that before. Shout out to both of them. Jimmy ETH, who we know sold that $1 million gold ape last week, is continuing to put ETH back into the market. He spent 270,182 ETH on this open deeds land, which is really rare. All right, that's all for the large sales. Good to see for market health that whales are continuing to put some money into rare NFTs. But now let's jump into what has happened in this week in Web3. All right, to start it off, we know about Kingship, which is a Bored Ape Yacht Club virtual NFT band. They're backed by Universal Music Group, and we're starting to see another band come out from the NFT project, the Catalina Whale Mixer. So it's a Solana project where they have also signed a deal with Def Jam and Universal Music Group, I believe, as well. And they're taking some of the NFTs from their project and are also going to develop a virtual music group. The difference is for the real Kingship Music Group, it was 4 apes, all from the same owner, Jimmy Eth, the guy who just bought this. He signed 4 of his apes to Universal Music Group, and they're going to write the songs and do all the marketing and all that stuff. With this is a bit different. Anybody who holds a Catalina whale mixer is going to be able to enter for the possibility of using their whale as the face of the group. So you can see here that your customized whale is the face of the group. Hit music, A-list writers, producers, and writers, producers, and artists will be taking care of all that backside stuff. Have your whale selected to be in the group, manager, groupie, more. So the way it's going to work is they're going to drop some traits. Whoever designs their whales with the best traits, the top ones are going to be picked for this virtual music group. So instead of it being just all one person signing a deal, they're doing it more democratic with their community. You love to see it, and you love to see experiments like this continue to happen with large corporations of Web2 joining the space. So Rihanna, we know she was the headliner of the Super Bowl last Sunday. Shout out to her. She absolutely nailed it. But we also know that she dropped an NFT of her song, Bitch Better Have My Money, which has streamed 673 million times on Spotify alone. So the details on the NFT. Shout out to O2 Capital, where he breaks it down for us. So he says, I'm all for utility, but, and he's referring to the Bitch Better Have My Money music NFTs. Each NFT is worth 1/300th of 1% of the royalties that you will be getting for purchasing this NFT. She will be sharing a percentage of the stream income with you. At Spotify's going rate of 0.003 per stream, each stream earns the holder 0.0001. You get the point. In other words, it will take another 2.9 billion plays, 4x current all-time count, to make your $210 back. Okay. So is this the best investment on your money? Probably not. It's a cool experiment. It's the first time you're seeing, you know, we've seen this with chain smokers, but somebody like Rihanna is huge, experimenting in the space to share some of the income with her fans that are probably helping her receive the streaming money from Spotify, right? From her fans listening to all her music. So you love to see the experiment. From an investment standpoint, it's not the absolute best, but I'm sure that this is going to improve, and we're really just touching the first stages of this. The last point on this Rihanna NFT is that OpenSea has removed Rihanna's music NFTs off of the platform because it says it breaches OpenSea's terms of service, because she is promising a return on the NFTs, which could be considered a security, and OpenSea does not want to deal with that. So this is going to be a very interesting debate moving forward, as more NFT creators are going to want to share revenue with their community members. We'll see how that turns out. All right. The huge news during the Super Bowl for Web3 users like myself was that there was going to be an NFT commercial from Digi-Dayaku. Founder Gabe here shows a screenshot of the actual commercial during the Super Bowl here. So he sort of took this idea from Coinbase last year, where they had that floating QR code and you would get $10 in free crypto. I believe it was $7. But instead of crypto, you would scan the QR code and it would take you to their website to mint yourself a free NFT from their new NFT project. And the funny part about it is that once the NFTs were gone, once you scanned the QR code, instead of it taking you to the website of the project, it took you to Gabe's Twitter profile and encouraged you to follow him. This was controversial in the space. A lot of Web3 people were not fans of this. It looked kind of spammy. It looked like he was paying for followers. I mean, he paid millions of dollars for this ad. I believe it was $7 million. Was it worth it? I don't know. But nonetheless, it was out there, and it was the first NFT Super Bowl commercial in history. So very interesting. One of the other things that we didn't really like was that after people minted out on the free website, they reserved the 5,000 rarest NFTs from that Digi-Dayaku Dragons free NFT project they were giving out, and were asking for retweets on Twitter. So some of this stuff wasn't done well, the best way by the NFT community consensus. I tend to agree, but let's see whatever happens there. All right, shout out to CoinDesk, where they announced that Abu Dhabi starts a $2 billion initiative to back Web3 startups. This is incredibly bullish. As we know, Abu Dhabi is really big on the future of technology. They're always trying to be at the forefront. So more money is going to come into the space, and that's needed to create, continue to give founders money and create more things that we need to onboard more people, because we know right now it's not ready. All right, big news. One of the OG Solana projects, NFT projects, and one of the biggest, has been sold. Solana Monkey Business. It's been sold to HadeSwap and Hades DAO. I'm not sure for how much. We'll have to read the. I read the press release. I don't believe they mentioned the number, but we have seen large NFT project purchases in the past. Pudgy Penguins being one of them, and they were turned around and are becoming a success. So hopefully something like that could happen to this as well. And we know that Yuga bought CryptoPunks. CryptoPunks has been doing well as well. So this could be a bullish thing for Solana Monkey Business if the founders are good operators. All right, this is one of the more interesting pieces of news that I've seen come from a founder from an NFT project. So Pons here is the creator of the Plague NFT, which is the frogs. And here's what he says. You are here to make money. Projects should want to help you make money and make money with the community. But realistically, you only make money when you sell. But when you sell, you're leaving the community. There's a problem. There's a conflict of interest here. And he says they have solved this with what they're calling earn-to-earn NFT. And this is what it is, essentially. So they created a separate company called leapmedia.io, which is going to buy the marketing rights from an NFT project or business. Through the NFT process, individuals can then buy marketing rights for certain brands from Leap Media in the form of an NFT. Minimum monthly marketing expectations are set. So you're going to be able to buy the rights, but you're going to have to do some work. So it's kind of a loophole to pay community members, because it's not a security. You're actually working for it, right? You got to make 8 tweets a month. As long as the individual meets those monthly marketing expectations, they get a percentage of all the brand's monthly revenue, right? So funds are tied to the NFT, and you can it can be claimed whenever the individual wants, and the NFT can also be sold with the funds attached to this. So if you sell anything over around $600, you'll have to fill out a W-9 form and receive a 1099. So it's a unique way to try to get around the security problem that the SEC might claim, to be able to reward your holders, who are really the ones helping you market these NFTs in the first place, right? So I'm interested to see how this turns out with the Plague, and shout out for Pons for the interesting new strategy here. All right, Cosmo, the absolute legend in the NFT space, who is constantly buying NFT art and trying to push the space forward, just made a huge move for NFTs. Los Angeles County Museum of Art, which is one of the most popular museums in the world, he just announced the first donation of on-chain art from a collector to a museum, and the largest digital fine art collection to enter a museum. 22 works from Cosmo's Da Vinci collection have been added to the permanent collection of LACMA. Here are a few of them. You see there's some CryptoPunk art here, Ringers by Dimitri from Art Blocks. You have some AI art from Claire Silver, who we talked about earlier, and a bunch of other pieces. It's a huge, huge move from a huge museum that is really helping us solidify this crypto and digital art movement. I believe museums around the world are going to take note. This is the second large museum to do this in the last month. Absolutely huge news, and you love to see it. Beans, which we talked about earlier, is part of the Suzuki ecosystem, announced Jay and Jelly. So Jay and Jelly, I guess, is going to be the name of these two beans, which is going to start the lore and the story for Beans here, and interested to see how that plays out. Okay, this is not a positive thing. that's happened in Web3 this week. But after listening to the expose on CNN and myself, honestly, it was really bad. Like worse than I originally anticipated before clicking on that video. They bashed NFTs in every single which way, saying they were racist, saying they were cash grabs, pointing to the point that MoonPay was paying giving celebrities these $100,000 apes for free so they can promote them. It was not a good look whatsoever. Lamborghini's Zarif is absolutely right. They destroyed Bored Ape Yacht Club, and of course this is not going to look good for NFTs in general. So, and honestly, if I was somebody who was not in Web3 and knew more of the details of what's happening in the ecosystem, I would have left that video thinking NFTs are a scam and felt very negatively towards them. And it's not a good look. So I really hope that eventually they can start showcasing some of the better sides of NFTs and digital art that we all know. Shout out to Cantino, who is the founder of CPG Club. Congrats to them on their accelerator pitch day. They had 32 Web3 startups come across 3 stages: ideation, building, and growth. Some of the investors in this incubator round is ETH Foundation, Outlier Ventures, Gitcoin, some big names. So I love to see that CPG is putting in the work, providing opportunity to Web3 founders and helping improve the space to have mass adoption at some point. Vincent Van Gogh, which we know made a couple of millions of dollars. We talked about it, I believe, on the first show, where he released a derivative of checks, the Pepe checks. But now he's dropped some more information on it. Kicking off a week from today, we are on a mission to deliver the dankest memes directly to your wallet. And these Pepe checks will serve as your access pass on this journey, with every Pepe check representing a raffle spot for allowers to drops from highly esteemed creators of Pepes. So it seems that he is taking the route of 6529 and the Memes NFT project, where they team up with the largest artists in the space, and the artists make art based on the mission of that project. For the Memes, it's decentralization, and for this, it's going to be, I'm assuming, Pepe art. And this will be your pass into the future, into the ecosystem, and to get potentially future access to future drops. So shout out to Vincent Van Gogh. I still have my Pepe checks. I think this is going to be interesting to see. And Vincent Van Gogh has just been a legend in the space. Shout out to him. Ordinals. We talked about them last week. We're going to talk about them again because it's having a huge impact on the Bitcoin blockchain. And I think it's something to keep up to date with. So shout out to Milton, where she says, to date, nearly $1 million in fees has been spent inscribing, which is just another word for like minting NFTs on Bitcoin, to the Bitcoin blockchain. So very excited to see how Bitcoin block space utilization will continue to evolve as more experiments like this emerge. So people are paying a ton of money to inscribe NFTs on Bitcoin. One of the biggest ways to gauge demand is how much are people willing to pay. And right now we're starting to see, we're actually seeing that. Also, it's becoming easier to get access to get ordinal NFTs and to create them. Shout out to 3700 Jenna on our Bitcoin, where he says, goodbye Google Sheets, as we know all these trades have been on OTC up until this point. There's a new ordinals marketplace called generative.xyz, the easiest place to buy and sell inscriptions, easy way to pay, instant settlement, and artist royalties will be added. So with these tools, this could really accelerate the growth in the ordinals ecosystem on Bitcoin. This was an interesting piece of news. Jason A. Williams. The NFT community is moving to Bitcoin, where ordinals have brought true scarcity to collectibles. I have forever inscribed the Blonde Dawn, it's a Bored Ape Yacht Club NFT right here, you can see, from the Ethereum ecosystem on the world's most scarce and most secure chain, burning him off of the Ethereum blockchain forever using a protocol called Teleburn. So burning is the process of sending an NFT to a wallet that nobody has access to, which is essentially burning that NFT forever, because as we know, not your keys, not your wallet. So it's done, it's over, not coming back to ETH. So this $100,000 JPEG has just been burned and now only accessible on Bitcoin. Crazy. Why did he do it? Was it for marketing purposes? I don't know. Nonetheless, I think was an interesting thing to watch here. So we talked about Ryan Carson earlier, where he said, my fund just acquired 15 grails of Bitcoin punks. And I mentioned that this has happened on previous chains, and it's not gone well. An example is Moonrock Capital just acquired the 18th rarest punk on Solana NFT for $257,000. I believe these are probably worthless now, or I don't know what the floor is, but you haven't heard about them since. And this could potentially be happening for Bitcoin punks. And I really wouldn't be taking that risk. And let's see what actually happens. Shout out to Dingaling, where he mentions that an ordinal loop, which is one of the earliest NFTs on Bitcoin, just sold for $156,000. It's just a bunch of bees kind of in pixelated form being animated, so loop in a loop. So another large sale. All right, moving forward, let's jump in to some crypto news. And there was some important news this week. The SEC came to Paxos, which is an institutional crypto firm, and said you must stop issuing dollar-pegged Binance token, which is a stablecoin. They are essentially saying stablecoins are securities, which is mind-blowing because stablecoins don't promise anything and they don't give anything to holders. You buy it as a digital form of USD and to avoid the volatility of crypto. Or if you're in a third world country, to avoid the volatility of your native currency. So it says New York regulators directed a crypto company to stop issuing one of the largest dollar-pegged cryptocurrencies. It's not a good precedent, as we know that stablecoins were one of the it really was one of the consumer use cases that we actually saw globally for crypto, that and NFTs, and the fact that the SEC is really cranking down on these so badly. It's not a good look for crypto. It's really not a good look on America and the SEC in general, trying to really slow down crypto adoption, in my opinion. And this is an incredible article. Great article on how the U.S. government is choking the crypto industry, and crypto is continuously moving off of shore because of these moves by the American government and some of the organizations. So I encourage you to read it because it's incredibly well done. And in chronological order, you can see what some of the organizations in America have done to stifle innovation in crypto. And with the latest being the SEC deeming that the Binance and Paxos stablecoin is a security. So, and it's also talking about how the SEC is using banks to hurt crypto companies, because without banks, how do they onboard and on and off ramp users? And this is a huge problem for crypto startups in America, and you're seeing a lot of them move to countries where they're more supportive of this. Not a good look. So, moving forward, let's jump into some NFT news. All right, a big one from Matic, which has been one of the best performing cryptos in the last year. And they have a huge announcement that is going to be dropping on March 27th. Polygon will be releasing their zero knowledge EVM mainnet beta. So it's going to go live, and we've been anticipating this. The crypto is probably running into this anticipation, so we know crypto and NFTs love to do that. And this is a huge innovation. They're one of the first ones, not the first one, but this tech should be great for adoption, and the space really needs it, and we've been waiting for it. So great to hear about it. Chainlinkgod.eth, shout out to him, where he points out that institutional DeFi is becoming a reality. Siemens, the huge and long-standing American company Germany company, has issued a $60 million one-year digital bond on the public Matic Polygon mainnet. So we have seen some things like this in the past, where large institutions have tokenized bonds or currencies or different things that happens in traditional finance for the first time on a blockchain. But this is the first time, and that's all usually happen on private blockchains. This is the first time that's happening on a public blockchain like Matic, Polygon. So really interesting to see. This is, I'm assuming, a first experiment, but they're looking to do more of this. And why would they? Well, because it reduces database consolidation, reduces costs and need for intermediaries. You don't need the bank, right, to issue. The smart contract, the blockchain, takes you directly from the bond issuer to the investor. And it's compliant under Germany's EWPG legislation. So we know that the world is going to become tokenized. As we know, it's just a more efficient and easier way to do it and gives more access to more people. Moving on, Dookie Dash from Yuga Labs. We know that they finally closed the Dookie Dash game. We know that they updated the metadata, and they announced who was awarded the key. And shout out to Mongral, who was the winner, who is a professional Fortnite video game streamer. Of course, there's no way us degens will be able to compete with somebody like that. But right now, he has the key on sale on OpenSea for $3.75 million. Does that mean somebody's going to pay that? No. But what is interesting, and we know there's only one of these, only the top score in Dookie Dash was awarded this. And what's interesting is that right now, there is an offer for the key for 222 ETH, which is about $380,000. So there's obviously high demand for this. He has not accepted that offer. Of course, he thinks he's going to get much more. What's very interesting is that Pixel Vault, the United Planetary DAO, which is a large NFT ecosystem in the space, a community member put a proposal up to vote on to whether they should buy this key and hold it in the DAO treasury and offer $1.1 million for the golden key, which is mind-boggling. The sewer passes were only 2 ETH, which is about $3,000. And Mongral was able to come in first and now potentially selling this key NFT for $1 million. We know it's supposed to open the box that we don't know what the box is holding. In the whole lore story that Yuga Labs has dropped recently. But man, this space just blows my mind. And we know that Web3 gaming is going to explode due to this. One of the largest Fortnite streamers in the world is about to make potentially $1 million for playing a Web3 game. You don't think other gamers are going to flock to this? This is just the beginning. I do believe Web3 gaming is going to really onboard the world. All right, one of the biggest pieces of news this week, OpenSea, which is supposed to be the largest NFT marketplace in the world, has announced we are making some big changes today. OpenSea fee is going to 0, moving to an optional creator earnings for all past collections with on-chain enforcement. And marketplaces with the same policies will not be blocked by the operator field. So because Blur is eating OpenSea's lunch, as you can see, Delphi Digital announced here, Blur dominated the month of January, where 46% of all NFT volume was happening on Blur and only 40% on OpenSea. OpenSea, as you can see, is getting desperate. They are afraid that Blur will become the marketplace to go to, as OpenSea has enjoyed really a monopoly on NFTs over the last several years, and finally they have some competition. And since Blur dropped their airdrop and rewarded the community members, people are really flocking. And because they still are airdrop farming due to season 2 of Blur's airdrop, people are continuing to buy on Blur instead of OpenSea. So this is a huge deal. And the reason it's a huge deal is because, number one, any existing NFT projects or artists on OpenSea are now not able to enforce royalties anymore, which we know was a huge incentive for artists to come to NFTs and Web3 in the first place. Now, only new projects that block LooksRare and Pseudo, which are the marketplaces, are going to be able to enforce royalties both on OpenSea and Blur, which are the 2 marketplaces that really matter, right? So it's great for new projects, new collections, new artists, but any projects in the past will not be able to enforce royalties and are only going to be able to enforce optional royalties at 0.5%, which is extremely low, right? Most projects put a 2.5% to 5% royalties on their projects for every sale, consecutive sale on their NFTs. So this is a big problem. The NFT marketplace war is officially begun. OpenSea is afraid and taking desperate measures. Of course, we don't know if Blur is going to continue to have this dominance over OpenSea, as this is still the airdrop season and the demand is, of course, incentivized. But again, Blur has an incredible platform. They have executed flawlessly, and they have also dropped the token and dropped $300 million worth into the ecosystem, and Web3 users are loving it. We will actually be able to tell what's actually going to who's actually going to win the war once the airdrop season ends, but that will be over for 3 to 4 year period. So, but again, not good for creators, NFT marketplaces trying to save their asses, and that's the big news that happened this week. That's all we got for you here at Web3 Weekly Alpha. Thank you so much for joining us. Together we stay up to date with everything that is happening in the space, and we will see you next week for the 3rd episode of Web3 Weekly Alpha, coming to you live from Central Florida in InnerSpace Orlando, and powered by Web3 CFL. Peace.